All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. Going to be breaking down the 2026 BMW Championship. Now, this ends up being kind of a straightforward week again for DFS purposes and somewhat outright bets in regards to who we should be targeting, maybe some good placement bets as well. So as always, guys, I'll go through the whole process of the video, talking about which players had the best recent form, which golfers are the best efforts, and which golfers actually end up having the best comp course history because we haven't seen this course since 2028. But first, we're going to get into a quick recap from last week. So Scotty Scheffler finally won an event, and I feel like he pretty much won the PGA Tour Player of the Year once again. Sam Burns obviously ended up kind of choking away another potential victory opportunity for him, but last week ended up being one of the better events of the year in terms of predictability, both for DFS and potentially for some bets if you guys chase some. We take a quick peek here at the player pool, and really the top miss on that high end was Colin Morikawa, but Scotty, Burns, Fleetwood, and Hideki, that was kind of the lineup starting point as I called out here, guys, is that you could have ended up on like three top 10 finishes mixed in there with Sungjae Im, who was a core play that I called out for you guys last week, who ended up finishing pretty darn well. Had Siwoo Kim as a GPP only type play, along with Rory, where, you know, if their upside's on, you might be getting a top 10 finish. But with it being a reduced field event, once again this week, the plays that we're going to be on are going to be limited, especially with it being only a 50-man field event. It is a no-cut event, so for DFS purposes, we are going to chase more of a studs and duds approach. And again, guys, throughout this video, I'll be showing you guys the new updated 9-to-5 Fantasy Golf Hub. It is going to be a little bit different data-wise than some of the data that's in the 9-to-5 cheat sheet, just as an FYI, but for the most part, basically the exact same thing. Did want to call it a slight update that I made as well to the custom model to start the video, because I added in what I think is a unique part of this week's event that you could do. There's going to be all these quick recipes, if you will, that you can add in there. It's going to be defaulted to start with the course stats recipe, and this is going to take in all the unique course characteristics from the course stats page. Now, for this week's event, it is a little bit different because we haven't seen this course played at this event since 2018. So we are pulling in stats from 2018, and we can see kind of which stats led to predictability there. Important to note. And actually, this ended up being a distance over accuracy type course. Strokes gained to the green ended up being crucial here. Birdie to bogey ratio ended up mattering, but in terms of players that struggled, bogey avoidance mattered the most. So kind of interesting there. But with it being a no-cut field event, maybe you want to target more bogey or better percentage. It really comes down to that. I actually went with bogey avoidance as a key stat for the week as well. And then we just take a peek at maybe how you could go about weighting the data. And this is what's going to be implemented into that custom model. Okay, so it's already going to be set up preset for you guys, but you could just use that course stat in there. That's also going to pull in the comp courses as well as a unique course characteristic. So we have the setup, we have the course traits. So the setup is going to be more of like the scoring based setup. What kind of stats led to success here? Whereas the traits is going to end up being more of that specialist data. And so it's going to pull that all in there. That's going to combine it all together for you guys. You can also take a peek at which courses are maybe comparable. If you guys want to go that route, you can do that. But that's where in the custom model here, you can select all these different kind of preset custom model figures for you guys. And so if we're just looking at that, Scotty Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele, Sam Burns, and Hideki would be the top 5 players. Now there is this odds column mixed in here as well, which is the custom model odds. So this is what the odds would be based off of the data that you have in the custom model data set right now. So kind of fun to jump into this, and you guys can see all the data points that you have preset in there. Again, I plan on doing an explainer video of how to go about using this, but I just wanted to show people just kind of a quick summary of how to go about using that. With that, let's go ahead and jump on into the golfers that have the best comp course history. And so what I found about this week's event is it's a little bit different because I felt like there wasn't a perfect comp course or any perfect comp courses. You could actually maybe take a peek at last year's course if you want to. And that's where if you guys are using the 9-to-5 cheat sheet, not in the Fantasy Golf Hub, I do have that comp course in there. And so the cheat sheet's more of kind of how I view it, whereas the 9-to-5 Golf Hub is going to be, Fantasy Golf Hub is going to be more of what the data see. Okay, so it's really up to you guys. The approach there, as the weeks progress, it'll probably be closer and closer and closer related. Already operates mostly the same anyways, but just want to call that out. If we were just taking a peek at the 2018 results, we can see how the players finished there. I typically don't care about course history when it's more than 5 years removed. Kind of noteworthy if you guys, want to take a peek at that. Maybe note that Patrick Cantlay has played here before, Hideki's played here before, Tommy Fleetwood, Xander. Like, it's not terrible to note that in your head, which players have at least played this course before in the past. But if we actually want to take a peek at comp course history, what we're doing this year or this week is using the cheat sheet for that. So I've updated the cheat sheet so that it will update for comp courses when we don't have course history. Okay, so that's what this is pulling in. That's going to pull in automatically. So you guys can see which ones are listed here. What we're going to notice is that a lot of the players that have comp course history are for courses that are not typically strong field events, which is just a little bit interesting there. This is going to play, I think, thicker with the rough, faster greens, and I do think the scoring is going to end up being, relatively speaking, harder to score on. So ultimately, I think we want to be taking a peek at the specialist data as a whole, but just noteworthy here, we have some players that are lower priced that have won on some of the comp courses that we're looking at here, guys, like Bud Colley's being one of them, Nico's being one of them, Chris Gotterup, and Michael Thorbjornsen. So just noteworthy there. But again, if we wanted to take a peek at maybe just that specialist data in replace of comp course history, because, well, that's part of the reason as to why we had this data set, we can see which players are going to be the top specialist. And again, this is pulling in all the unique course characteristics for this week's tournament. What we can do is we could preload the data sheet here. And if we dial into maybe more of the last 24 rounds, we can see which players end up being players that we want to be targeting in regards to some of the top stat fits or specialist wise. Sorry, it does have a decent amount of water hazards in play, just noteworthy there as well. Still missing the green speeds and green width, so we'll see once that gets added in there. But overall, we get a good idea of which golfers we should be targeting that should end up being good plays just in general for a course like this. But we can also take a peek at which golfers end up being the top stat fits. Now, stat fit for me, guys, it can go a few different ways, I will say, for this course. It is kind of unique in that sense. I did want to target bogey avoidance because I do think with players not seeing this course as much, there might be some big holes, some blow up holes, I should say. And I want to avoid that. I want to avoid the big numbers. So typically speaking, for these no-cut events, we are looking at birdie or better percentage, just targeting golfers that are going to score. Could meet in the middle if you guys want to. If you guys are making your own 9 to 5 custom model, maybe toss in birdie to bogey ratio instead. Up to you guys. I felt more comfortable going with bogey avoidance this week. Stroke skin approach, what we did see is that this was more of a second shot golf course. Total driving did end up mattering both distance and accuracy off the tee. So I am looking at stroke skin tee to green as well, and par 4 scoring, okay, because it is a par 70 course. With that, we can see which golfers end up being the top stat fits. A little bit surprising with some of the top stat fits here for this week overall. And so maybe that's where we do end up getting some value on the week here. And then last, let's go ahead and take a peek at which golfers end up being in the best recent form. So we can just take a peek at maybe hot form, which golfers had just been playing some pretty darn solid and consistent golf here, guys. Which golfers actually ended up in ascending form, where their results have gotten better each of the last few weeks. Sky Scheffler is the only one there. Descending form, which golfers have maybe gotten worse over their past few starts. Yeah, Hideki, although he's playing well. So this is where like data can trap a logic here. Like, yeah, he's descending, but he's still playing great golf, right? At the same time, we could take a peek at someone like Russell Henley, who has kind of consistently been struggling recently. So important to note there, Rory, descending form, Ben Griffin, JJ Spawn. The whole point here is like, which players of these maybe should we definitely be missing or not targeting, and which players maybe are just having an outlier set here, right? Maybe Rory just had a bad week in his first competitive week back. I don't know if you guys saw the quotes with him, but that does seem to be the case with him. Okay, so just noteworthy there. And then kind of a fun one, like hot putter, where you could be targeting something that maybe has a hot putter, or is that hot putter going to go cold, or you could take a peek at a cold putter where maybe their putter is due to get hot. Just kind of some fun things to look at. But overall, Scotty, Sam Burns, Tommy, Tom Kim, Hideki, and Matt Fitzpatrick all in the top recent form in the field. So with that now, guys, we'll go ahead and take a peek here at the high tier. And for me, I do think this ends up being another week where we are just going to be jamming in Scotty into our build. And again, we could take a peek at the AI summary. If you guys want to take a peek at that, we can certainly do that. No major red flags for him this week. I would say, no duh. For everyone, it's going to be the fact that they don't have any course history, but other than that, pretty darn solid. So are there any bets that we could be on for him to win? I don't really love these odds, 300 to 1 on DraftKings. So there's still the site that's begging you to bet on him there. Probably just staying away from that. I don't think we necessarily need to chase that. But for DFS purposes, I do think he's pretty darn easy to fit in builds once again. And so I do think that's going to end up being the lineup approach that you should be targeting this week. From there, I don't mind Tommy Fleetwood at his price tag. I would rather get down to Sam Burns, who's $500 cheaper. To me, they're basically the exact same play. We do know, just looking at Sam Burns' profile, that he has been someone that has been right around a win, just hasn't been able to come through. And I will say last week, guys, with the fact that it was like him or Scotty. It kind of felt like the last time we saw Sam Burns win was against Scotty there, and so he's going to do it again. So a little bit tilting there that he did not win. I'd be fine still betting on him. I mean, this is kind of crazy. 18-1 odds for Sam Burns with how good of golf he's been playing, with how good of a stat fit he is as well, relatively speaking. I mean, it could be a little bit better, but I'm perfectly fine chasing that hot hand that he has. But I gotta say, guys, in regards to players on the high tier, it's tough to just avoid Hideki. So specialist data 20th in the field, stat fit 24th in the field. The recent game log has really been phenomenal. 7th, 7th, 5th, 3rd. And that was after a slow start on round one, or in round one. The front nine, guys, just got off to a terrible start and was able to bounce back and play really pretty darn well throughout most of the week. And we see, guys, looking at it, really no weaknesses in his game as well. We take a peek here at his profile as well. We can kind of see where he may struggle. And for the most part, this is concentrated for the most part in regards to course fit, season, specialist data, and last three. Everything is pretty much grouped up there. So we do like to see that. Hideki's playing some great golf. And so for studs and duds builds, I do think Scotty, a little bit of Tommy Fleetwood, probably just Sam Burns, and then go with Hideki. We jump down now into more of the mid tier. And I think that's where the week gets somewhat more interesting, just given some of the pricings that we're getting. Like, we do know Wyndham Clark is someone that is very much hit or miss. When he's on, he's on. When he's not, it's pretty bad. So if you guys want to chase that, you can, and just hope that he's on. I'm not going to be doing that. Same thing there with Colin Morikawa, where when he's on, he's on. Unfortunately, he's been a little bit off recently. The player that I probably like the most in this range is Patrick Cantlay, who was threatening for a victory there at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Followed it up last week with a top 12 finish at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. It's not a terrible stat fit as well. 26 in the field, could be better. The form is good. The specialist data is really good. And 33-1 odds for him on FanDuel is a little bit appealing. I think I'd probably rather chase, if we could, like a top 20 bet, minus 125 or so on FanDuel. I feel like that ends up being a pretty good number there. So that's not a bad bet for someone that, if we were to take a peek at the comp course history, not terrible stuff. Top 10 finish there at the Rocket Classic, which is one that we're looking at. So from there, I don't mind some of the other plays in that range. I just don't feel like we necessarily need to get them with the constraints that are being presented to us this week, with it being a no-cut event. So we go and take a peek at the golfers in the low tier. Ryan Gerard, I'm fine with at that kind of price there, guys. Very solid comp course history. Top 25 or better in the field in all the data points that we're looking at. He is someone where I don't think I'd be chasing an outright bet with him. But maybe he's someone where if you want to look at top 20 odds, I'm a little bit surprised that we're getting him at plus 125 to top 20 here on FanDuel. That's a pretty good EV per the 9-to-5 data, where he does rank out pretty darn well in the model, guys. Top 12 in the 9-to-5 model. So just worth noting there. From there, Michael Brennan's okay. Pretty good stat fit there for Michael Brennan across the board. Good 12 driver, good in bogey avoidance. Could end up playing pretty darn well at this track. A little bit worried about him overall, given the pricing. Jacob Bridgman, as we jump on into the value tier, I'm fine with him. Jacob Bridgman ended up giving us the result that we wanted with him. If you guys were following along the video last week, I think I ended up closing out my video or build with him in there, where it's kind of a shoulder shrug play. I view him as that again this week. We're in that exact same scenario where, yeah, we're probably going to get a finish where he finishes better than his price tag and probably in the top 50% of the field. This week, that ended up being a top 25 finish. I don't mind that. Let's actually take a peek here at any potential bets for like a top 25. I mean, plus 175 to top 20 is not terrible. If you guys want to take a peek at that market, I don't mind that. But then we jump on into, to me, some of the easier clicks. And I did cheat a little bit because I do think Sungjae Im at 7K is a good value or low tier play, depending on how you want to list it. He's someone where I do think betting on him to top 20 makes sense, plus 160 there. I also think just given how well he's playing, the number that FanDuel is laying out there, 70-1, I feel like that ends up being a good betting opportunity there as well. So he's someone where, again, you always typically want to do placement bets, especially with bankroll management. Placement bets are the way to go in PGA golf. Outright bets have been pretty darn tilting this year, where it had multiple players with a chance to win on Sunday over the last 2 months. They just keep choking. It's pretty annoying there. So placement bets are typically the way to go. Sungjae Im has been playing good golf. I mean, look at this. 4 of his past 5 starts have been top 15 or better finishes. So we like that there from him. Comp course history-wise as well, 15th and a 71st. So we don't like one of them, decently like one of them. Okay. Again, we're at the bottom of the barrel here. Obviously, we're not going to love everyone. We jump on into some other plays, though. Bud Cauley gave us a top 12 finish last week. Actually kind of snuck in a good round on Sunday, 67 there, which was pretty darn huge for a lot of my DFS week, that the fact that he ended up having a good week. Unfortunately, Sam Burns and Sungjae ended up being over par on Sunday, which was a bit annoying for me. But Bud Cauley just playing some pretty darn solid golf, like across the board, not terrible. And he's someone where I think you could get away with a top 20 bet here. The fact that FanDuel is laying out these numbers plus 210 to top 20 for a golfer that has been playing, pretty consistent golf this whole year. I'm not saying we have to go crazy with it, but we do see half of his events recently have been top 20 or better finishes. Like that is good. We like to see that there. And then lastly, guys, I was pretty actually surprised by this last person on this list, Nico Echeverria, because 2 straight top 12 finishes. Obviously, we like to see that. You look at his miscut at the Rocket Classic, 1 bad round, 1 decent round in there. And what do you have? He had an outlier week putting, -2 strokes lost putting. Okay, that's pretty bad, right? Besides that, has been pretty darn good with his putter. And so I'm perfectly fine chasing a value play at this price tag where if we look at his most recent starts, the one concern has been the fact that he hasn't been able to putt well. Now, he's not going to be a good stat fit. We're not going to love that. Comp course history-wise, it is funny. Miscut, first miscut, so do with that what you will. I'm fine chasing the potential hot hand with him, though. That's really what we'd be doing here. And so if we go ahead and jump on into my core plays for this week, I do think at his price, Hideki ends up being one of my favorite clicks here to win. And again, that is kind of a good lineup starting point, especially if you're going maybe more of a fair and balanced build, but I do think we want to begin to Scotty as well. He's kind of the honorary core play, but comp course history had a 5th, 4 straight top 10 or better finishes. Not the best effort. That's probably the biggest concern for me, but overall ends up being a very solid click at his price tag this week. Ends up being kind of an easier click as well. Maybe you're a little bit worried that he falls off somewhat in regards to his form because he has been playing a lot of events recently. That'd be the only concern. Bud Cauley playing some pretty darn good golf as well recently, guys. Again, about half of his recent finishes have been top 20 or better finishes. That is really all that we want from him. Comp course history, we only have 1 start, definitely a skewed data set there, but not terrible. I do think he gives us another good opportunity to finish better than where he is priced. That ends up being the key with him and the next 3 plays that we are going to be on. Nico, again, I think there's a good opportunity for him to outproduce his price tag this week. Riding the recent starts there with him, that's the appeal with him. You're going to ride the hot hand, and then same thing there with Sungjae, where we're just going to chase those recent starts from him. And so if we're going to go ahead and take a peek here at a potential first look build, we have those 4 players in it, and we could easily get into Scotty there. We have 6.9 left over there. Maybe not perfect. Maybe you guys don't necessarily love that. But again, we shrug our shoulders and head up on Jacob Bridgman there and feel pretty good about that. Now, maybe you don't necessarily love that. Justin Rose is someone that I feel like this actually ends up being a decent course for him. Maybe get to him a little bit. That's kind of about it. So we do some lineup swaps with Justin Rose in there as well. But that's kind of it for my thoughts of the lineup process for this week and some of the bets that we could be chasing. Again, I think a lot of placement bets end up being the best route to go. We're going to do a quick run of the lineup optimizer, see what it's spitting out to us as some of the top builds. Currently, top build is more of a fair and balanced build. Again, it's jamming in 3 studs. I don't mind that approach. I think going studs and duds. Actually, that's not terrible. I think we want to begin to Scotty. I'm curious. Are we getting to any Scotty builds? 1, Scotty Young, hit or miss, Bridgman, Smalley, Ray Tan, and then Fox. So a little bit different than how I see it in regards to values. And really, I think I'd be perfectly fine doing this. So like when a lineup includes Scotty, guys, I want at least, and it'd probably be 2 of those values that I just mentioned to you. So Sungjae being one of them, Bud Cauley being another one of them, and then Nico. Maybe only do 2, but I think it's a pretty good rule to set. When lineups include Scotty Scheffler, I want at least 2 of those golfers in my builds, and we'll just put Scotty in, 50% of these right now, and we'll do 20. Like, I think this is a decent way to go about kind of manipulating your builds here. So you're going to be able to have a good studs and duds approach. Maybe you think that's too much. Maybe you don't like those values that much. Would have worked out for the most part last week, but we'll see what it spits out to us. And so we'll take a peek here, guys. Much better in that regard, and I don't mind the idea of doing that. Again, I probably would like to get to Hideki. I like Hideki apparently more than the data does, but we'll see. So based off of that, we're forced in 50% of Scotty, end up getting to some of Nico, 40%, Bud Cauley 35%, and then Sungjae about 30%. Then we're getting to more some, I would say, risk reward plays. Siwoo Kim, Robert McIntyre, and even Matt Fitzpatrick. Again, the one player that I'd probably want to get to more to tell the data is going to be Hideki, maybe 25% more. But that'd be a way I go about kind of manipulating the lineup builder for this week. But guys, that's going to do it Sorry, that's going to do it for this week, guys. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to leave a like on the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before. If you guys want access to any of those tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. You guys can get access to all those tools for a low monthly cost of only $10 a month. And then worth calling out, guys, preseason NFL DFS has already been here, posting a lot on the 9to5 channel as well. YouTube channel, check that out, guys. Posting basically daily write-ups from Thursday through Saturday, covering the preseason slates as well for DFS. So if you guys are interested in that, that's going to be a part of the 9to5 membership as well. If you guys aren't members, don't want to sign up, check out the YouTube channel. I've been putting out a lot of good content there as well. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck with all your bets and builds this week. And as always, let's keep cashing.